Alright, I might be live on YouTube. Let's find out. Ooh, that is working. Is the vertical working? That's the real question. Is my vertical stream working? Hello, YouTube. Tell me, please, do I have a vertical stream? I can't tell. I don't even know how to find out. Okay, so it does not look like the vertical stream is working. So I'm going to turn vertical off. Does not look like the vertical stream is working, so I'll just ignore it for now. Trying to see if I can update my YouTube title. All right, let's go live on stream or Twitch. We're going live on Twitch now. Let's open up Awin. All right, we have Awin up and running. How's my computer doing? It should be recording at 4K. We are live on Twitch. All right. I need to see what the audio levels are at, because I messed with my sound settings. All right, this is me speaking with the music playing. That sounds really loud. Okay, that music's loud. All right, turning the music down. All right, this is me speaking normally at a normal volume. Okay, I think that's doable. All right. Okay. Videos recording live on YouTube and Twitch. Let's do this. So I've been fighting with the Flex entity component system and trying to get it integrated into my game engine here for the past couple of streams. Mostly using AI to try and help me sketch out some ideas. And AI doing AI things decided to implement as I kind of told it to, but implement in a way that isn't how I would write code. So I am not going to start from scratch, but use the code that AI wrote to help me write the code I want to write. So I'll probably end up pulling that off to the side on my other monitor here and then do a little bit of copy and paste and reorganizing. Yeah, so with Flex, I do like this whole bring your module in and define your core components. I need to kind of do this myself now and get Pong back to a state. There's so much here. So I kind of need to figure out where to start. And so instead of touching this, I might leave that alone for now. Create a new folder called Pong. We'll add it as a subdirectory. I need to zoom in so that we can actually see what I'm doing. People see that? I think people can see that. I've got 2 viewers. All right, which one of you is it? Fess up. Fess up in Discord. Who's watching me right now? I see you. Uh-huh. All right, so I need to get this copied over so we can do a little bit of Pong implementation. It's not me. Hey, QRT, how's it going? I've got some friends in Discord with me, and so I wasn't sure if one of them was watching me. I appreciate you stopping by. I'm in the process of taking the some of what AI wrote and some of what I wrote and kind of reorganizing it so it's a little cleaner and understandable and make it more like how I wrote the code. If you end up having any questions about what I'm doing, feel free to ping me, and if I see it, I'll let you know my thought process. But right now, I am basically copying the Pong implementation into a new empty file so I can kind of start this clean. Did I put this CMake list in the wrong location? I got distracted. Yep, I definitely did this wrong. I need this. ECS library. I have actually I've written my own ECS a long time ago, and as much fun as it was, I'm at a point now where I kind of just want my stuff to work. And there are 2 ECS libraries that I'm aware of for C++. One's called Flex, one's called ENTT. I've used them both professionally, and I am toying around with Flex today because I think that's what I want to use because it provides a way to do child-parent relationship kind of stuff, which is useful if I want to do any kind of scene graph implementing. Oh, you know Flex, awesome. I know ENTT more. I know enough Flex to be dangerous. And literally today, or maybe last night, I got a patch implemented for Flex so that I can use this with C++ modules. I don't know if you've gotten to use modules yet, but that's kind of important for me as I'm learning like the newer language features, and Flex has had a hell of a time actually compiling and linking with modules, and I finally got a fix in that I'm able to use, and now I'm full bore going to use Flex. I actually, you mentioned Godot. I actually use Flex with Godot as well as our like backend for game logic, and then we just put wrappers around everything with the Godot API for our game that I'm making. Oh, I hate it. I have a couple of I've been really lucky. I think I have worked in labs that don't have access to internet, so you're kind of just stuck with what everyone has compiler wise. So I've been in labs that have been stuck on like I think what's the minimum you need for C++11? Like GCC 3 or 4, like 4.8, something like that. So I have lived that life, and I feel sorry that you're kind of stuck with C++11. What I'm doing now, I am fortunate to one be working from home, and two, I am in a place that I can kind of dictate what technologies we use to solve a problem. And so I basically get to pick. So we're straight up using like, hey, we're doing GCC 15, we're using Clang 22, MSVC, whatever the latest, not 2026, but Visual Studio 2022, that kind of stuff. So very fortunate to be able to do that, and stuff like this that I'm working on kind of helps me figure out what works and what doesn't. Okay, so this project I'm just calling, let's call it Onwin Pong, I guess. Support Android, otherwise it's an executable. We still want a main. I have main. I want to start off by not linking against anything yet. Support mscripten. Yeah, let's go ahead and copy this over too. Let's see. I want to try something here. All right, let's see here. That's my HTML page for WebAssembly. Got that copied over. I think I'll leave that untouched. Leave that untouched. Android support, leave untouched. And then installation support, leave untouched. Let's get a quick and dirty main implemented. Oh my gosh, no AI, no! No, this isn't the way! Man, I don't remember which header. Is it that? Oh, is it standard lib? Is AI trying to help me? Oh my god, AI knew it. Alright, so it's this header. Okay, so simple executable. I just want to make sure that compiles before I start throwing a bunch of code at this. Compile. Hey, book buyer, the bookkeeper. What books are you buying and what books do you keep? Let's see here. Romantasy. You have over 3,000 physical books. What? Do you have a library? Like a library at home, or do you own a library? God, 3,000 books. I have probably read 3,000 books in my lifetime, but I've not kept nearly half of them. I have like 2, maybe 3 shelves of books, mostly fantasy, horror, and some sci-fi. I think is where most of my interests lie. 1,000 books is a library. Imagine his living room like those old rooms with fireplace, bookshelves on every side. See, that's ideal. I would love to have a room like that. Oh man, could you imagine? You just fill your walls with books. You get yourself a fireplace, maybe a little lamp, and a recliner or some kind of like dusty old cushiony chair. That would be fantastic. It's always been a dream of mine to build a library. I just my current house doesn't have that kind of space to do. Otherwise, I would absolutely build out a library. I'm big into small room in the basement with books, crammed 26 by 6 shelf bookcases, take up the walls, middle of the floor. Oh my gosh, that is so many books. I'm more recently I've read like Brandon Sanderson, huge Brandon Sanderson fan. I grew up reading like as a kid I was reading Stephen King. What else was I reading? Goosebumps. I read so much Goosebumps. I think I read almost all the original Goosebumps. What else was there? Bentley Little, that was another horror author. Anne Bishop. I have to look her up. Anne Bishop. That name sounds familiar. Turns of Fate. I will have to look her up. That looks interesting. The closest the Others series. Okay. The closest romantasy style books I've read, I think, was oh, what is it called? It's a vampire series or a vampire hunter series. Um, Anita Blake, the Vampire Hunter. I started reading that as a kid because like, oh man, a badass vampire slaying woman who kicks ass, and then like I started like early high school, I think, and then I think 6 or 7 books in, right as I was like leaving high school, the book started turning into more than just vampire slaying. Let me just say that. Incubus Dreams. Yep. 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 And now it's at a point where like at least for me, if I start a series, I can't not stop reading. So I basically have to pick up the Anita Blake books anytime a new one comes out, even if like half the book is spent, absorbing let's say absorbing vampire powers. But I really, really liked the whole storyline of her like surviving all these situations people can't survive, and then gaining powers, and then like seeing her slowly become this like necromancer of legend. Yes, they do. They get really, really smutty. You're not wrong. Especially there was like 3 or 4 books in a row where it just felt like it was a nonstop orgy every time you bought a new book. Let's see here. Pong. All right, so I need to copy and paste. I think I have that. So I need to link against Flex and the libraries that use it, which is going to be Core. Make sure that compiles. Yes, the actual plot is really good. She kind of threw herself out under the bus when she switched genres. Yeah, yeah. But yeah, I like the actual story was really good, and that's honestly what got me hooked. It was just so cool, like reading about this tiny woman who was like kicking vampire and zombie ass, and was a detective. Like it was literally like a murder mystery slash action hero with necromantic powers. I'm like, hell yeah, that's the kind of story I want to read about. All right, let's see here. This is the most viewers and conversation I've had on Twitch so far since I've started a week ago, and you guys have gotten me completely distracted. This is awesome. The actual plot is really good. She kind of threw some. Let's see. I think you really like the others now. I was a bit iffy when I recommended, but this one. Okay, okay. I don't. I'm not. I don't hate. I don't hate romance. I can be a softie. That's not a. That's not a good romance. Is perfectly fine. Um, Brandon Sanderson. There's other series. Oh no, actually no. I think that's Brandon Sanderson as well. I was just thinking of the Mistborn series. Uh, Unfortunately, I haven't read a lot of books recently. I used to travel a lot for work, and so I would basically pick up a new book every time I traveled, and that is what I would do. You have over 3,000 books, and you're in a reading slump. Wow, that's impressive. Let's see. Did that compile? Oh, you want to learn to code? Oh no. This is um this is awesome if you're here to actually watch some coding. I will say what I'm doing right now is pretty advanced. I am open to doing some more introductory stuff if there are people who actually want to learn. Um, but this like what I'm doing here, this wall of text is just setting up a project so that when I compile the code, will actually run on your mobile device like Android, in a web browser, on a computer, or on like a tablet, that kind of thing. And it requires a lot of stuff to understand to be able to pull that off. Yep. Well, so here's what we could do. So I'm working on a Pong game, and the reason I use Pong is it's like, are you familiar with the concept of Hello World? Right? It's like the very first program you ever write is learn how to write Hello World. Well, I'm using Pong for that because Pong for me it gives me extra stuff. It's like, hey, draw a square. Hey, use a keyboard or a gamepad here to move the square. Ooh, Python. Python's good too because Python. So everything I'm doing right here with CMake, all of this like fairly complicated stuff that has like it's not really programming, it's everything I need to do so that I can do programming. Python does for you out of the box. So Python is a great way to get up and running quickly. And I've actually had to use Python professionally when I was working on automated robots because I worked at a company that built like forklifts for automobile factories, that kind of thing. And so they use Python a lot to handle all of the communication logic to make these robots talk to each other so that they were always aware of where they were at while moving around. Using Code Academy, that sounds familiar. Good night, QRT. Thanks for stopping by. I really appreciate it. Let's see here. On Pong main core. Did that compile? That compiled. My cat will not stop bugging me. What are you doing? Hmm? What are you doing? Okay, I think I've heard of that before. Code Academy. Yeah. All right. So this compiled Pong. So now I want to do Hello World in C++. Let's do include print for the print function. That's cool. Hopefully it helps you figure some stuff out. We'll call it Hello Pong. Make sure that compiles. That installed, so let's run it. Windows release. Ooh, that's not what I want. I want Pong. All right, we got Hello Pong. Awesome. So that's step one. Get the code to work. Hmm. Like, is it having you figure out the math yourself, or were you struggling with like figuring out the syntax of the language? Because syntax, like learning a language, once you get past like your first language and learning it, and the best way to learn obviously is to keep practicing. Learning other languages, I for me anyway, gets a lot quicker because you develop the skill of just generally speaking knowing how to talk to a computer. And then most of the languages after that is just different ways of talking to the computer. Oh my gosh. I'm gonna copy that and paste it. Let's see, copy. So you're doing does it not let me copy your message? Oh, hang on. I want to figure out why I can't do that. Let's see. What am I missing? I need to go to wonder if I can do it from Twitch's webpage because I'm not using Twitch to copy right now. Let's see. Can I copy this? Oh, okay, here we go. So I assume you're doing something that looks like this. Oh, this looks like straight up math. Oh God, I haven't done math like this in years. So what are you doing? Above are a number of arithmetic operations, each assigned to a variable. The variables will hold the final result of each operation. Combinations of arithmetic operators preview docs perform operation on variables and values using special symbols and keywords in Python. Follow the usual order of operations. Python also offers. Okay. So what are you so what are you trying to figure out? Are you trying to figure out like what the answer is after all these operations work? Because programming, like the way we learn math, it applies to programming as well, right? So for me, it was like PIMDOS, so your order of operations. What is that? Parentheses. Let's see, PIMDOS. PIMDOS. Parentheses, exponents. Parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction. Okay. Yeah, so you're basically it's just if you remember your order of operations is in math, it all becomes about like, and this one gets tricky, right? It's like, oh my gosh, what's happening here? Well, and it's also like how a calculator works. It's always going to do left to right, and then multiplication and division. So it's going to do this value first, followed by this value, and then it's going to add the two results and subtract 12. So it's like basically doing this, right? So you're adding in parentheses. You're basically doing that. Or if you broke this down, you would get 129 times 1343. And honestly, this is something I do when I'm writing code to help me understand this better, is sometimes I might set this to a variable. Let's call it like, I'm just going to call it product. What do you call division? Oh, it told me. Oh my gosh, AI told me. It's called a quotient. It's been a long time. Except we're doing, why did it do that value? That's weird. So then it just becomes product plus quotient minus 12. That's all you're really doing. Let's see. Oh, is this your problem? Multiply two numbers together, assign the result to a variable called oh, that's what I did, product. Yeah, it can be tricky. It can definitely be tricky. You do, especially with programming like this, you do have to be pretty comfortable with like algebra. Algebra goes a very long way, just understanding what a variable is. Oh, they're using a modular operator. I didn't see that in your example. In the above code block, we use modular operator to find the remainder of 15 divided by 2. So that's a little different, right? That's going to be 15 divided by 2 to get the remainder, right? So if you did a normal, we'll call this modulo. If you did a normal math, you would get 15 divided by 2, which is normally going to be like, what? 14 divided by 2 is 7. 1 divided by 2 is 0.5, so 7.5. This would normally return like 7.5. In Python, I don't know, I don't remember off the top of my head if Python handles floating point precision, but what it's asking is the remainder, right? So that's where you use a percent sign. And I think Python does the same thing. This is called a modulo operator. So it's basically how many times can you take 2 out of 15, and then what's left afterwards, that's what you return. So 2 goes into 15 7 times. So that's basically 2 times 7 is 14. And then your original value of 15, you subtract what you took out of, which is 14. Your remainder is 1, right? So this value here would be 1. And I think I can get, yeah. So I can get it to calculate it on the fly. So if I mouse over this, it tells you. Int modulo is 1. And that's all, like, that's all this is. It's saying, hey, 15 divided by 2, well, it's 7, but there's a remainder. What's the remainder? 1. This is what it gave me remainder. They wanted to show that remainder is, that 1 is remainder. This is what it gave me remainder. 13,908 divided by 11. So you're wanting the remainder of 13,908 divided by 11? Because I mean, that's not something I could do off the top of my head. I'd have to use a calculator for that. But again, you're just doing 13,908 divided by 11, which gives you some value. Oh, it's 127. So if it's 127, then remainder would be 0. What? What do you mean flex is not a class or a namespace name? You don't tell me what it is or isn't. I tell you what it is. I am the one who programs, not you. Stupid compiler. Let's see here. What did I screw up? Because it's certainly something I screwed up. Oh, it's not even here. That's what I screwed up. I'm starting to really like coding. Yeah, I mean, well, yeah. If you think about it, when it comes to coding, it's literally us humans wrote something we could use to talk to a computer. When a computer only processes zeros and ones, well, you know, it would be insanely difficult for me to write all of this as like, hey, I'm going to write some code today and I'm going to tell it to draw a triangle. Oh, I know what that is. All right, yep, all right, we're almost there. I've almost told it to draw 1 pixel. Now I've got 300 million more pixels I have to draw for this 4K display. All right, I'm almost there. I've got 2 pixels down, right? So instead of doing zeros and ones to tell a computer what to do, we actually, along the way, came up with assembly. And I don't remember any of the assembly structures off the top of my head. This is something I learned in school a couple years ago. We'll say that. And it's more like, hey, you have memory locations and these things called registers next to your CPU, where it's like, hey, I want you to store in register 1 the sum of register 2 plus register 3, right? By doing this, I have just saved myself hundreds of hours of time having to write zeros and ones. Yep, hybrid of human and computer. Hundreds of hours of time from having to write zeros and ones. But the problem is, to do any complex capability, this is still just like addition, right? And there's probably multiplication these days, so you might do like, oh, in register 3, take register 1 and multiply it by register 2. And even before then, you probably had to say register 1, store the value 5, register 2, 10, so on and so forth. Well, whenever you want to start doing more complicated code, this doesn't cut it. So we wrote the programming language. Basic, C, all of these languages that other languages are built on top of, that's what was written. And so now you have these compilers, which is kind of what you're seeing happen here, all of this stuff down here. All of that stuff is taking this human written language and turning it into zeros and ones. All right, so I got to figure out why that is still being a jerk. It is being a big jerk. And I hate it when programs are jerks to me. Yeah, this should work. Oh, I think I see what's going on. I see what's going on. I have to do this. Not all documents were saved. Would you like to continue anyway? Yes. I love programming. I have been doing it my entire life. Nearly my entire life. I got started, what was the first technological thing I did? I got started when I was like 13 building a website. I wonder if that still exists. I made a website. I made a bunch of websites actually back in the day. Who knows what happened to them? Oh, come on, please tell me this still exists. Oh, come on. Oh, did they finally take it down? I used to have a website. I used to make Dragon Ball Z text RPGs on a website where people could email me for for any actions they wanted to take, whether they wanted to train, purchase. And so like websites was kind of where I got started. Okay, they may have finally taken it down, but a couple years ago it was still around, which blew my mind. But yeah, I used to make websites, and then I learned how to program on a graphing calculator. The graphing calculator helped me a lot on math tests because anytime I didn't have to show my work, I aced the test. Oh, is it really? Oh, well, welcome to the tech industry. You're I would say you found the right guy, but like I said, some of the stuff I'm doing is pretty advanced. But I'm happy to answer any questions you have or go over anything you would like to explore. I don't have any issue with that. Okay. It's never too late to start programming. Does this compile? Ooh, we're almost there. It's almost compiling. Something's still not right. Oh, I have to include it. That's right. You got to include what you want to use. Nate, quiet down. What? Oh, are you watching? Are you able to follow along with what I'm talking about? Heck yeah. What's you're working towards a goal that's going to take 10 years? Do you have like are you trying to like make something specific, or are you trying to get a specific job? Oh my gosh. Oh, I'm sorry. I've got a couple of friends in Discord who I'm chatting with, but I'm not letting their audio in on the stream for now To be honest, I wasn't expecting anyone to be paying me a visit. You want to make AI will help writers. Okay, that's fair. Um, Other than using AI like I am here, which I honestly haven't used too much right now, I have a little panel off to the right here where I will like input prompts and stuff that'll help me sketch out some ideas. I haven't actually explored writing AI. That's a whole other field that I honestly don't know too much about. Like I generally get the idea behind like the probabilities of performing lookups and things like that. But actually writing my own, that's kind of out of my wheelhouse. That's a lofty goal. I don't think you need 10 years. I don't know how much coding you need to use AI versus understanding what an API is. I would definitely be learning how to use APIs, application programming interfaces, because that is what will probably get you access to being able to prompt AI and creating your own communication protocols, that kind of thing. Let's see here. All right, does this compile now? Invalid argument. Oh, I have to include this too. Yep. No, that makes sense. Yeah, what specifically matches your vision based on everything you told me. Yeah, Python. Yeah, I think Python is the way to go, because I think there's a lot of support with AI/ML in Python. A lot, because a lot of this stuff doesn't need to be, especially when you're interfacing with like the LLMs. The code isn't going to be the performance bottleneck. It's going to be all the LLM processing. So Python makes that really easy to get stuff up and running. No, that's fair. Python's a good way to start. A really good way to start. I would agree with that. And if you stick with Python, I would say within a year, maybe even 6 months, depending on how much time and effort you put into it, you'll probably be better at Python than I am, because I've only used it like a handful of hours a year for the past 10 years. God, I am doing terrible at this. Why is this not working? Oh, we're getting there. Oh, my coding examples are yelling at me now. Let's comment that out. Let's try this again. There we go. All right. Do I still get Hello Pong? Hello Pong. All right, we're making progress. Yeah, I mean, if especially if this is something new to you, if you've never done programming, then yeah, it takes a while. I mean, I've been doing it for almost 20 years, 40 hours minimum 40 hours a week. That doesn't count all the time and effort I put into it outside of my work, which like right now. So that's well over what, 20,000 hours of coding experience. So what might seem simple to me might be a brand new concept to someone else. But I remember the struggles. All right, so I'm trying to decide if I want. Do I do this or do I do? I think I want to do that, and then it can be engine.load. Do we do that? Engine.load module. Huh. What I do for work is kind of what you're looking at, honestly. It's C++. I work from home. And these days, I work on developing aircraft displays for commercial aircraft, commercially flown aircraft. Um, so that's going to be like your radar displays, that kind of thing. And a lot of that is going to be C++, Linux, graphics, so on and so forth. So I'm taking some of what I've learned there to put it into this project here, where I'm making my own game engine. I've got a couple of guys I work with outside of work developing a game using Godot, and Godot is causing us some issues. Nothing that is egregious, but because I just enjoy tinkering, I'm making a game engine to potentially replace that. Probably not, but because it takes a lot of work and effort, and I don't know how much time and effort I can devote to it, but maybe someday. We'll see. Mostly I do it for tinkering because I like to tinker. Credit card sales. So are you I actually don't know what a credit card sales is. Usually if I do credit cards, it's I apply online and I get a credit card in the mail, so you'll have to forgive me. I actually don't know what a credit card sales is. Flex World. All right, so I'm trying to decide if I want to put my own APIs around the entity component system so that I can have control over when I load the modules. So the person that would be like, hey, are you interested in this? Ah, I see. Okay, okay. How successful are you at that job? Because I can't imagine a lot of people are like, yes, I want a credit card today. Oh, you haven't started yet. Okay, all right. Well, I wish you luck. Hopefully, you got a Friday. Nice. All right. Hopefully, you have some success in that. Auto engine, engine load, core module. Because if I have control over this, that allows me to create a window. And then the window would have access to the engine, which allows the window. Do I even need that? I might not need that. Maybe I don't need this stuff. I do want the engine to control the timings because I do want to do engine.run. Engine.run will run everything. You gotta start somewhere, you know? I can understand not having the experience, but as long as you get your foot in the door anywhere and can start adding that to your resume, that's a big part of the process to becoming hireable, is just having something that says like, oh yeah, I know how to work with people. I am responsible. I show up to work on time. You know, if you can prove that you're one of those people that actually shows up, whether you like the job or not, you're already beating out probably half the population. You hopping off? I'm getting hungry. I need food. Let's see here. So I have a window. This will be our graphics window for Pong. I want to If I just do world.import graphics module, I could then create a window like auto window equals world.entity. That would create the world type, and then I would want to set the window component, which would look like that. All of that would work, but then this would use... Yeah, okay, so I do need to do that. I need to do that. Yeah, I don't know what's happening tonight. I've got more, I think, viewers than I've had so far, and I haven't even like written too much code. I've just been chatting with this person. I appreciate it, book buyer. Thank you for chatting with me. All right. All right, so with an entity component system, everything is an entity, even our graphics window. I will eventually wrap this, because that's what our pointer implementation is going to be. So the pointer implementation would also have like a scene node, not dissimilar to Godot, where we would make a node. I might even do like window.create. Is it create node? Add node? Create node? Because then we could have like a rectangle node, which would be a child of the window. If I could do all that, the engine would own the entity component system. So I need to develop. I think step one is getting a window open, which I already know how to do. We've done it, but I need to do it with the entity component system via this module file. So I need a module file. I think that's what I've just discovered. I need a module file, which is under graphics. So I need a module.ixx. A, B, C, D, F, G, element OP, module.ixx. Let's, I'm sending. All right, so that compiles, that's good. Yeah, what games you buying us? That sounds dumb. Let's see, module. What am I supposed to do? I don't know how I'm supposed to do this. I think I do that. I'm gonna have, all right. I think I'm gonna have AI autofill a, I might just say stub. Hey, can you stub out a flex? Can you stub out a flex module implementation to support a Windows graphics component? A window graphics component. I want to use this component to create a raylib window. All right, talk to you later. What are you playing, Nate? Nice. I saw there was an update to that game. Fair. Right. I am starving. I might, oh shoot, did I make any food tonight? Alright. Let's see here. Oh, I think AI is doing a little bit more than I wanted it to, but that's okay. We'll see what it creates. I can always discard the changes. The discovered module is currently an empty module unit while the actual module struct lives in graphics. I'm splitting this cleanly in a module, becomes the flex module implementation unit, and the graphics simply aggregates exports. Interesting. Okay. Okay, yeah, this is what I needed, because I can work with this. Windows component on set, we will create the window. And then on set, we will set the FPS. Window created. Window should close. Keep window runtime synchronized with the native window close state. Close the native window when a window component is removed. Oh, that's interesting. I wonder what that'll look like. My cat is making some of the weirdest noises right now. He's taking a bath. Maybe I should leave him alone. All right, what did AI do here? It's still, is it still thinking? I think it's still thinking. Forgot I had a protein cookie. We're safe. All right, let's see if AI got this right. This is a lot. I don't like the way it wrote that, so I'm going to clean that up for sure. It installed everything built, so that's good. All right, so let's clean this code up. Sometimes it's the issue with AI that I have. This is a certain way I like to write code, and AI was trained on how everyone writes code, so it's never going to adhere to what I want it to unless you like tell it to. But I can fix that. So I might say, hey, instead of window entity, I just want to call it a window for now. We can call it main window. I'm okay with that. But we just do that. So then we should get window.set. Okay. Except I want to do window.set. All right, so this will add a window component to our entity, give it a title, an initial width and height, make it resizable, and support a high DPI display. And then at the end of the loop, we will remove the component, which should cause it to shut down. Here we are saying while keep running is true, we're going to progress the world. The world is our collection of entities. Runtime. Let's see. Runtime. So we get the Windows component. Check if runtime is null. If the component exists. If it does, check if it should close. Otherwise, keep running. And should close will toggle if I hit the X button on the window. So let's just see if that works. Boom. First try. Oh god. I mean, something's happening. I can't do anything. I think I know. Ooh. This cookie is really good. That's why I needed to stop for a sec. I needed to eat my cookie. Not because anything wrong or bad happened. Realistically though, when you create a graphics window and you can't like interact with the window, chances are we didn't add any event polling because we need the events to process in order to know how to either move the window, resize it, because all of that eventually feeds back to the operating system, which tells the window to behave correctly. So we come in here, and we're using raylib, so raylib probably has a function we need to call, which, I mean, I've done already. I'm just trying to get this in an entity component system. So if I come into my code and see how I'm doing it with raylib, we have a poll events function. I thought raylib just had like a single function I could call that processes events. Am I crazy? Set config window, init window, window should close. I mean, the application did crash, and I don't think it should have crashed even if I wasn't processing events. So we have a window runtime system. Update window runtime. So this is probably where we need to also handle our events. I want to Google that. There's a raylib cheat sheet. Oh my gosh. Can I zoom in? How do I zoom in? Poll input events. Register all input events. Is that what I need? Let's try it. Let's give it a shot. Can I just call that? Can I just say poll input events? Is that all I need? All right. Second, first try. Let's go. Booyah. Booyah. All right, so we can now move the window around and everything. So that's what was missing. We were missing the events. And it didn't crash. Sweet. First try. For YouTube editing purposes, that was first try. Well, the question is that actually where I want to handle events? Because I probably need an event processing system. Oh, there's going to be so much work. I need to understand how Flex does the different update phases, because I think you can register systems to different phases. And I've done this elsewhere before, but I think it's going to be like oh, there it is. So we could say, hey, during the update phase, poll for events. I think realistically, we need to define an engine loop. Because you're going to have, like, even before you get to the loop, you're probably going to have, like, some kind of initialization phase. If you've ever used Godot, that's what they basically call onReady. Not a bad name. But then the loop itself, it would be more like, I think we want to start a little basic. We're going to need an event loop, something to handle input events and send events to whoever needs them. So it might be like pull events. Oh, the AI is doing it for me. Update game state. Okay. We're going to need physics updates. Is it going to get that? Render. It's not giving me that. Okay. So physics updates have to be fixed time step. Update scene entities. No, we want update physics. Right? We're going to need fixed time steps compared to variable time rates because your computers are always fluctuating with what they can process. So we need something that's stable that will give us predictable input and output for our physics. Pull events, update game state, update physics, and then render. I think that's a good starting point, especially for Pong. We need something to handle input events, something to... I don't know if we need update game state right now for Pong itself, because most of it's going to be like physics collision stuff. And then the render step. So in the render step, we might also want to provide a pre-render and a post-render. But that could be for later. That doesn't need to be now. Pull events, update game state, update physics, post-render. So I need to figure out how to get all of this into Flex to drive all of that. My thought is I would have actually, maybe it does make sense to have an engine class that I call engine. Where you pass in a flex world. Or the engine starts with a flex world. Maybe it starts. Maybe I wrap the flex stuff in there. And then engine.load to import the different modules. Maybe it'll, by default, import the core modules, which will give you all the different of engine loop stuff. Gives you the different phases for your entity component systems. And then if you want graphics, you can be like, hey, let's import the graphics module. If you want physics, you can be like, hey, let's import the physics module. If you want, I don't know if a scene module makes sense per se. Yeah, I guess so. So this would be like your scene graph implementation. If you need complicated transformations, if you don't want to handle the transformations yourself, then you can implement the scene module. So that's where you're going to have like your more complicated games and how Godot does it, right? Where you could have nodes nested under nodes, and whenever you move a node, you want all the collected nodes under it to move with it, kind of thing. All right, so all that work. All right. Let's see here. So if I create the engine, you load a module. Well, before we do the engine, I still got to get all this stuff figured out. I don't like any of this. Windows runtime. Should just be the window component, I think. So I think what I'm going to do so I can figure all this stuff out. We'll just include flex. Let's get rid of our dependency on, maybe not. We still need that. Okay. So we'll have a window component, right? With config flags, that's fine. Gosh, so much. No, that's not going to work either. I don't even need this. I think I want this on the engine. No, this wouldn't be a graphics window. This would be a widgets window. This is the graphics window. The widgets window would wrap this. So I gotta get all this figured out before I can get this figured out. The engine would... I think you pass the engine in. So we want the main window, window.set. Travel sprite, Windows component. Set config flags, window, init window. Window runtime. This registers our components for graphics. Want all of this. Yeah, I almost need to. I almost need to not touch this stuff. So I do not want what the AI is dropping. I'm not catching what the AI is dropping. So I think what I want to do is not use any of this. Let's see, app pong. So I get rid of this. This will help me learn. Let's comment this out. Make sure this compiles. Okay, so that compiled. That's good. That gives me the option to figure some of this stuff out. So I need... When flex. Why did that not work? Huh. I link against it publicly, but it still can't find it. I wonder if it's because it's an interface? Interesting. That worked. Oh well. I don't want to chase that rabbit hole down. That would be a little too much effort. Oh my gosh, wall of text crits you for 500. Let's see. Cannot open the Awin core ecs.lib. That probably makes sense if it failed to compile. I think it failed to compile because I did not define my module. So we want a module. We want to export it as a module awin.core dot engine. We want to include Awin flex. We want to export the namespace being core. Oh, look at that. Autocomplete. Let's go. Not going to question it. I just wrote a ton of code in half a second. Now, does it actually make sense with what I'm trying to do? So it lets you set an update pipeline. I don't know if I want to expose that via a public API render pipeline. I think I want to get rid of that. Now it gives you a callback on pre-update, post-update. Okay, yeah, this is making sense. This is what I want. Pre-update, post-update, I think is probably overkill, but it's fine. We'll say it's fine. If you move a callback, I don't think that can throw an exception. But .connect might be able to throw an exception. Never mind. So we pass in the engine to reference the world as a reference, which is not necessarily great either. What we might do is let the engine own the world, which means passing by a unique pointer to force ownership change. Is that what I want to do? That might be what I want to do. Let's do that. So let's include memory. Let's make this a unique pointer. Pass by value, of course, and then we'll do a standard move. So it got that figured out. We need to update this. Thank you, AI. Update accessors. Thank you, AI. Okay. So the engine will own the entity component system world. When we call run, should continue. No, we're not doing this nonsense. This should return an int on whether we exit successfully or not. This should continue, should be controlled via a Boolean, and I'm just going to call it running. So running is true. While running, or should it be false? I don't know what get delta time is. What is that? It's nothing. Let's get rid of that for now. I'll figure that out later. So we'll just do a delta of 0.1, 1 F. make it a constant for now. So you have an update pipeline, a render pipeline. Where do those get established? I think they were expected to be set, but that's not how we want to do this. I actually want the pipelines to get established by importing the module. So we need... what do we need? We need a module file that represents the ECS module. I don't know why it keeps wanting to do graphics. Include flex. Export namespace. Ooh, what's this? Update marker component, physics, render, module. Oh, it already knows what I want. What? I need to create these as pipelines. How do I do that? Because this would almost be like flex pipeline. I wonder if different modules should add their own pipelines. That's probably true. So the core module will only give you an update function. If you want a physics update, I'm making this so complicated, but that's okay because this is how I like to tinker. So we'll just start with update then. That will keep it simple. So we got a pipeline update with on update. I don't even know if this is correct. This is just AI. So let's see what compiles and what doesn't. Cannot open input file on core ECS lib. I think that's probably because I'm not doing a decal, but I'm not sure. Core on update. So I'm probably not doing something wrong. Core overloads. Oh, I don't have any of this. What is this? So we have module and we have core. What do I need? What's the naming convention I should use? I think using module across all libraries makes it easier to find out that, oh, this is where all the definition stuff is. So I'm going to get rid of core. All right, that configured. Will it compile? It will crit me for more wall of text. Cannot open input file on core ECS because it's being a jerk. I'm sure I got something wrong. I am going to cheat and say, hey, where'd the error start? Like right here? Right there. And be like, hey, AI, help me. Fix it. And while that is cooking, I am going to go use the bathroom real quick. I will be right back. I'm partially back. Oh my gosh, there's more people here. Why are people here when I'm not here? That makes no sense. I'm heating up food. I was so hungry. Let's see. Did the AI figure out what the error was? Root cause fixed. I did have an issue with. Wait, no, that's not the fix. Is that the fix? Doesn't look right. App Pong. Oh no, everything's wrong. AI didn't fix anything. AI failed me. Let's see here. Because I want to create a core ECS library called Awen Core ECS. And I want the app to link against it. Yeah, so you're out of your mind. Rerun your normal install build target. The specific should be gone. You are mistaken. I do want to link against Awen Core ECS, but I believe I have configured the project incorrectly or introduced a compile error. Please take a look. All right, I will be right back again. I just heard my microwave go off. My cat stared at me while I was heating up food and convinced me to feed him as well, so I had to take care of that. Here's a question. If you open up a bag of sliced cheese and you don't remember when you opened up the cheese, and then you go to put some sliced cheese on your bean burgers, and you see the package says it doesn't expire till August 26th, I'm safe, right? Oh, that was the issue. I forgot to add it to the CMake subdirectory down here. So it never got compiled, therefore it could never link against it. Okay. Now we're getting somewhere. I just don't have any desk space. Okay. So I don't want physics or render right now. Maybe I do. Is that right? That doesn't look right. Yeah, it's not right. I've done this with our game we're making. This is how you do it, like this. Hmm. Problem is, I think Flex already has an on-update phase. So I don't know if this is really buying us anything other than helping me learn how all this works. Operator equal is unavailable. Am I doing this wrong? Flex pipeline. It's an entity. Even the systems are entities. Anything you define is an entity. That is such a different way of thinking about programming compared to object oriented. All right, so we're going to have an update pipeline. That's just going to handle your general variable update ticks. I'm defining it in a module because the idea is, in theory, I should be able to, I should be able to, import the module like so, and that will handle registering the update ticks that we're going to need. Let's see if that compiles. That compiles. Awesome. Okay. So when import is called, it will invoke or construct this module object, register the world with these components and phases and pipelines. Now I wonder if, I'm honestly trying to decide if I even need an engine class itself. Because I will want to control physics timing, but even that could be managed. No, because if I create a physics pipeline, I will have to control. I think that's fine right now. We can second guess ourselves later. So I'll keep building this out. So now that we have an iteration loop, we're going to need to implement a window. So that means a graphics ECS library. And I'll remember to add it this time. And we're just trying to get a window to draw, so we're gonna need the module file. Here we are going to need components. So I could do a components module. I'm using modules and components intermixably here. Now I'm talking about C++ modules versus entity component modules. So this registers, this contains the components. Excuse me. Right, so we need a module. We need components. And I think we can just store all these in a single file. Like, so in C++, with headers and source files, I'm actually typically used to using a single header source combination per like class or struct. Modules, I'm learning C++ modules are a little different. And it becomes more difficult to do like forward declaration kinds of stuff. Without some extra finagling with the modules. And so it might be preferred for interdependent classes or functions to exist in the same module file. I don't know if that's best practice. I don't know if anyone knows what best practice is yet, because I don't think a lot of people are actually actively developing with modules. So I'm going to learn and see what I like and what I don't, and integrate that into what I would consider my best practices. Which means doing this. So this will depend on ECS. I know we will eventually want magic enums. I know we need raylib. Threads is needed for compilation purposes, but that should come from the core library here. I thought, yeah, it's right here. Let's see, graphics. If we're not Android, we don't even have a test directory. And scripting support, I don't know if we need all this either. I'm not going to touch it for now. I'll clean that up later. Compile. I suspect this shouldn't compile because my module files are empty. Could be wrong. I could be wrong. Yep. I need to put some implementation in place. All right, so now we get components that kind of define what we want to draw using raylib. So rectangle, circle, draw text. sprite, etc. Window component, I'm actually just going to call window because everything's a component. We'll have a title, string, which means we need to include string. The color type, I'm going to grab from... where'd it go? I'm blind. There it is. Let's copy that into here. Paste. Let's add it. Cool. All right, so there we go. We need to export the import of the graphics. Color. And then this needs to get exported via .ecs. Oh, not right there. There we go. Yep, just like that. All right, so we have color, components. That will get fixed once we compile. All that looks good, so let's compile. Yeah, the IntelliSense with modules is a little rough sometimes because the way modules work, they have to be scanned so that all dependencies can be figured out. And the only way to scan is either to manually run the scan tool to generate the mod map files, I think, or just build it. Yeah, there's the mod map file I was talking about. Oh, I still need an implementation for a module. Woo! Look at that AI generation. Sure, why not? Boom. Now, are we even close to being right? That is the question. I need to include the entity component library. I need to include... Ooh, do I need to include Raylib? Maybe. All right, so this is going to register the component and define what to do when that component is created. So basically... Oh my gosh, Fox, you're not even joking. I mean I'm kind of challenging myself here because I've never done this before, so I am you're seeing my my chaos live, which I'm not used to showing off. But I am right there with you. And this is all over the place because it is all over the place. I'm actively learning how to use this entity component system library to create a graphics window and then get my Pong implementation up and running in it. So we register the components that are going to define all of our objects. This says when the window is created. I don't really need to label this right now. Initialize the native. I don't. When this window is set to an entity, each time it is, we will create a Raylib graphics window. You are reverse engineering the PlayStation Network support for PSP emulation. That's awesome. That is awesome. I've always wanted to, I mean, I grew up on like the old Game Boy emulators, Game Boy Color emulators, so I've always like been curious of doing that, but like by the time I got, I would say, experienced enough to do that, it's like been done enough and has been solved enough. PSP emulation, on the other hand, wow. Do you have a? It's not the word I'd use. I have to tear down a bunch of. You need to pack some TCP sockets into a UDP stream. What? Why do you need to do that? So are you like, is that something PlayStation does, or are you basically saying you're using TCP, but because PlayStation uses UDP, you have to do like a translation? All right. So when a window is created, if Windows is when I did not know that. What all games that don't use a dedicated server use. I don't think I was aware of that. I've only ever used like TCP and UDP on their own. I've never had to like, and I would always set up my own port forwarding, right? So I don't think I've ever even considered that. That's interesting. Wow, that is interesting. Is this for fun? Okay, yeah, I'm with you there. I'm with you there. But at least you're learning, right? Right? Are you using like newer C++ at least? All right, so when we get a window component, it will create it. This is interesting. So window runtime. Okay, so the thing I was thinking of doing here is registering my own phase. I'm calling this on render. A NAT punch through. When you use a UDP socket to connect to an external server, your router opens up a NAT rule so it can respond. It doesn't actually care if that traffic came from the same location, so that server shares your public IP port with other players who can send you messages through that. Wow. Yeah, like I said, I mean I've done a bunch of TCP UDP programming, typically using ASIO, and most of the time it's just either been like UDP broadcasting or handling a few tens of TCP connections at a time. I've never done anything beyond that. And these days, I go like above a step above and use things like 0MQ, or more recently learning this Rust library called Zeno to kind of manage all that for me. This sounds interesting. I was not aware of that. That's pretty cool. I'm always impressed by some of the engineering that goes on behind even things like video games. It's just impressive. There are some smart and creative people out there in the world. Undeclared identifier. Oh, did I not? I didn't. All right. We just won't use this one yet. Config flag, undeclared. Isn't that an enum? Where did I put that? Need to pack another socket type into it, and it's a TCP socket. My code won't currently support that, so I have to tear a bunch of it down and put it back up into. Ugh. Okay, that sounds like a lot of work. Is this like an open source project that you're working on, or are you working on this solo with a team? All right, there we go. We compiled. We're getting somewhere. Slowly but surely, we're getting somewhere. So when an entity window component is added, we will create a raylib window if the window is not ready. Otherwise, we grab the current window runtime and update its state, and we set the target frame rate. I don't want raylib to control my frame rate, so I'm getting rid of this. I want to control my frame rate. I do not like it when other libraries control my frame rate. So where is that field getting defined? Is that in here? Where is it? Oh, target FPS. Yeah, we're doing away with this. I will control my speed. This is only a tiny portion of all the stuff I've had to implement. Like I said before, I should really stop with the compli. Yeah, that sounds pretty complicated. It does sound pretty cool though. It also, it also comes down to like what your goals are. Are you doing it just for fun, for learning, to say that you could do it? I mean, do whatever the heck you want. But if you're actively like trying to make something or get it out there, that's a whole different beast. I work on a game during the week when I live stream that I work with a couple of other guys. And, we're not doing a bunch of this stuff from scratch. We're just using Godot. I mean, I'm still doing some C++ backend for the game logic, but it really is just a push to like try and get something out the door, get people aware of it, get it in front of people's hands. No, no. ECS is Entity Component System. So it sounds like you're familiar with C++. So I'll skip over all the basic stuff. But you know how when you typically build like a class and add virtual inheritance to it. And then maybe you want to add additional features. So let's say you're making a game, right? And I can just do it in my main.cpp here. This is typically what you might see in a, I would say, relatively simple game, which is perfectly fine. But you might have a class called, let's just call it an entity, right? This is going to be your base game class. And you're going to give it, you're going to make it virtually inheritable. So you might give it a virtual destructor, right? And then it's like, oh, what kind of game are you going to make? I want to make a game that fights against monsters, you know, like a typical fantasy RPG. So you might have a monster entity class. Like that, right? And what does a monster entity class have for fields? Well, maybe it has a health bar, right? What else would a monster have? Does it, it has some kind of attack power, maybe? And then maybe you need a monster that flies. So now you're creating a flying monster entity that derives from monster entity, right? Okay. Well, now you got a question you have to ask yourself. What about a monster that shoots lasers out of its eyes, right? Like, what do you do if you need to add laser shooting abilities? So this guy might have a flying speed, right? Well, you could create another class called monster laser entity. You could do something like this, where it's like, hey, laser feature that might also derive from entity. Or laser monster, if you will. Let's call it laser monster. Wow, I can't spell. Laser monster, right? Okay. So this is where you run into an issue. Now that you have this laser monster, a regular monster, and a flying monster, maybe you want a flying monster with laser eyes. So, oh, AI, oh my god, is AI listening to me? Laser flying monster entity, right? And in order to get that, you have to derive from flying monster entity, and you also have to derive from laser monster entity. And this is where you hit this diamond problem, right? Where you're inheriting from two different base classes that both derive from the same base class. And there's all kinds of ways to fix this. You could do virtual inheritance, virtual inheritance, that kind of thing, which becomes a nightmare of an issue when it comes to maintenance, especially in a really big project or a project that you're going to be actively working in all the time. And so there is a different way to approach this problem. And it's called composition. So instead of inheritance, you're going to compose. So instead of a laser monster, maybe you have something called a laser. You're going to have something called a monster. You're going to have something called flying, right? So instead of all of this inheritance that's happening, if you need a flying monster with lasers, now you can just say, hey, my flying monster with lasers is really just a monster with flying and lasers, right? But this becomes a little inflexible. It is hard to write generic code with this because everything is specific. You don't have like a base class to do type erasure on to generically like pass types around. So that's where ECS comes into play, Entity Component System. So you essentially have this entity, and you want to use it to hold your components, but you want to do it in a flexible, dynamic way versus a static way, where I just had this example of a monster that is made up of, now we're going to say it's like made up of a position. So a position in the world, a velocity, how fast it's moving. you can still have an attack power, right? An attack. Things like that make up what your monster is. But instead of hard coding it, we're going to use this entity component system to add the components to an entity. In this case, with this library, we're using templates to achieve that. Yeah, exactly. Designed to attach to entities. So it's that idea. And so I'm using a library that does that. So it might look something like, I'm trying to think if I have an actual example. Yes, I do actually, in my Pong version of this. So in here, as soon as I find it, where did I do it? Right here. Okay. So instead of having a single class that has all of these composed objects on it that's static, you do something a little more flexible that allows you to say, hey, my Pong paddle for the left side of the screen is made up of a transform, something that positions it, XY coordinates, a draw order, so something that gives it like a Z-axis value, and then the component that defines what it looks like. And using this this library that I'm using called Flex, F-L-E-C-S, it does it in such a manner that it is relatively cache coherent, which means most of the work you're performing on these things will be able to fit inside a cache line, which means you don't have to go out to your regular memory to, retrieve a different block of memory to perform processing logic on. So this will stick everything under the hood. This will stick everything like essentially in tight little vectors that you can iterate on. And so in theory, you'll be less expensive on memory and quicker to iterate. Now, always measure if you're worried about performance. There's always gotchas, because if you're not careful with this type of solution, you could define a component that would extend past your cache, which means you're getting a cache miss again anyway. But that's typically what's happening here. Oh yeah, what Silent said, and that's what's happening here. Anytime this world.entity is called, it's returning an object that represents essentially an index into a collection of arrays. And every time you set a new component to this index, you are essentially allocating a new collection of arrays for that specific type. And what that achieves is we no longer have to use virtual tables on these classes, which means you don't have some kind of indirect memory lookup. So instead of having an array of pointers to your class implementation, you have an array of your data right there inside your cache. Again, I'm not really doing this for performance reasons necessarily, because even something like this is really hard to get correct without spending a lot of time and effort, like optimizing all your individual components to fit correctly. I am mostly doing this because it's fun and I'm interested in learning this API in the library. If I wanted something up and running quick and simple, I honestly would probably still do polymorphism, inheritance, node hierarchies, very similar to how Godot does it. And I think Godot even has an article about why they went the route they went, because it is easier and a lot more C++ developers will understand it than seeing this kind of API. And on top of this, I plan on wrapping all of this really inside that virtual inheritance hierarchy to provide a simpler public API, but I am still trying to figure out how I want to implement this under the hood, essentially. No, I haven't added any support for disabling anything, nothing like that. I am not there yet. Step one, so what you see here, and you caught me in a mid-development spot, so I don't know if I can show it off to you or not. But I have a video on it. I'm trying to think if I have a screenshot of it. But basically, I've got this code using the entity component system working on Windows, Linux, Mac, on Android. Actually, I might still have it on my phone. Yeah. I don't know if you guys can see this or not. So that is the code you see on my screen running on my Android device. It looks like I just lost. And then I also have it running in the web browser. So that's basically what I've been working on in my streams. I started streaming like last week. And now what you are witnessing is me taking the work I've already done and try and clean it up and make it a little easier to digest for an end user like who wants to develop with this. I mean, it's a game engine project, right? No one's really ever going to use this other than me. But it works out for me because it gives me an opportunity to try things out and explain how I go about doing things and how I set up my projects. And what I was currently looking at was getting a window component running that I can set raylib flags to so that whenever an entity is created with the window component, it will create a raylib window. So that's there. So I might be ready to try this. And I'm doing all of this in a separate executable. So I've got the executable that works that I can copy and paste from, and then here's the one I'm like sketching out. I'm essentially sketching out how I want to approach solving this. So I want to, and I'm using C++ modules. That's the other thing, because I'm still relatively new to modules. I've used it some. I've run into issues in the past, but I'm making some progress here. So even the stuff running in the web and on my Android phone is using C++ modules. How in graphics ECS does not exist? That feels like a lie. Oh, it might not exist actually. So this is something else I'm still learning. I think I have to... I think I have to do that. You export the imports to a root component library. So I think I do that. I'll try that. Because then I can just import one thing versus importing all the individual components of the module. Again, no idea if that's the best way to do it. I'm still figuring this out myself. Making a mess. All right, that compiled. Good. All right, what do we think? First try? So if I import my graphics module, that would enable me. Do I need any of this anymore? I'll leave it alone for now. But that should enable me to create a window entity. Set a window component on it. AI will autocomplete for me, which is really nice. Make it resizable and high DPI. I'm on a 4K monitor with the Windows scaling turned up, so I need this high DPI flag. Let's see. So we set the Windows component. We define some values. I don't have a way to set X and Y right now, but that's okay. So we set a Windows component, and then I think I need a loop. I do need a loop. Okay. So this will basically say Windows should close. So am I setting this window runtime component? I think I am. Window runtime. This is only on set. I need... Okay, so this is the whole... Oh, man. This is why I'm going to have to figure this out at some point. So we're going to have this pipeline renderer, and then I need to register... Oops. I need to register a system. How do I do that? I think it's like world.system that interacts or that runs on the window runtime component. Yeah, here we go. Oh, AI for the win. I really don't care about labeling these. All right, so on the pipeline render system, each entity with a window runtime component will get updated on if it should close or not with the Raylib API. And then I need to make sure this pipeline render gets called. So I think I have to manually do that right now until I put something in place that will run everything. Well, maybe not. World.progress should run the pipelines. But I think I have to set the pipelines. I don't know how to do that. World.set. No, because that's not how I want to do it eventually. I do want to run this manually at some point. So I think what I can do is get the module here. Auto module core. Auto module graphics. I'm on Arch Linux with a 4K monitor. Scaling is always... Oh, yeah. So it's funny you mentioned that. I was using Nobara a few days ago, actually. And I kept having scaling issues with my 4K monitors. And I was also having issues where the monitors wouldn't turn on. And so rather than diagnosing and fixing, I was like, I just need something that works. So I went back to Windows. You caught me on a day where I'm actually streaming my desktop, but typically I have a virtual machine with Linux set up to do my development in. That way I can more easily share everything that's going on versus just a couple of things. But yeah, I feel the pain. Let's see. So I have a module core, module graphics, and then what I can do is say module core dot update pipeline run, module graphics dot pipeline run. See if that compiles. If this works, first try. Oh, it doesn't even compile. That's awkward. Oh, that didn't work. It's probably because I'm doing this wrong. Components. No, graphics core, module. With system on update. Oh, it's with. I think I have to do with. Where is that? I think I have to do dot with phases on render. I think that's what I have to do. Oh my gosh. Just work already. Is not a member of Flex Entity. What? IDPI is not a member. Oh, I'm not, I defined something incorrectly. What did I do wrong? Oh, this needs to be window. There we go. I had too many problems with Windows. I tried moving to Pop OS for its NVIDIA support, but they've recently moved to a standalone interface with all broken. I tried Ubuntu, but that's the Windows hate of Linux. I have a desktop, not a tablet. So Arch is one that I haven't tried. I have a lot of experience with Ubuntu, so that's usually what I end up back at just because it almost never fails that if I ever have a problem with Ubuntu, I can find it. Because Ubuntu is so like commonly used. Professionally, I've used Ubuntu. From a company perspective, if you got like a Ubuntu or a Linux dev machine, it almost always is Ubuntu. I've also used Red Hat Linux professionally, so I have some experience with that and Fedora. But I do like to try different Linux flavors every now and then just to see where things are at, and that's why I was trying Nabarro recently because like I like Fedora a lot because of how like the latest technologies and versions are always on Fedora. I just ran into issues and I didn't have time to fix it, so I had to switch. Yeah, yeah, and that's why I haven't tried Arch yet, just because of how much setup and configuration. I think when I was younger and I had more time, I'd probably would have done that. But these days, I'm just trying to get work done, so I don't really have as much time to tinker as I would like. Now, maybe that changes if this streaming thing ever takes off. Maybe I can have a little bit more flexibility to do stuff like that. But otherwise, we all got to work. I've never even heard of Nixos. There's just so many distributions. Ubuntu's always my fallback. It's always been the one that just works most of the time. But you're right. Like I've never had a Linux. I don't know. Do you guys watch Linus Tech Tips? Do you keep up with all that? Like I totally get where they're coming from. It's always something. Nothing ever just works. 100%. And so I totally like I like watching those videos to see like the pain they live. But I think that's part of the challenge of open source projects is making everything cohesive and coherent together. That's just really tough, especially when a lot of people are doing it for free. That's a really tough ask. All right, so I've got a compile error, mainly because I don't know how to use this library, so I'm doing something wrong. Update pipeline is not a member of Flex entity. It shouldn't be a member. I don't understand why you think it is. What does this return? Maybe I'm doing this wrong. I thought I could do this. You know what I can do? I can comment this out and see if it still compiles. Yeah, that compiles. Okay, so something else is off. Module core is not a member. Oh, this is an entity. This is a Flex entity. I thought it was returning my module. Do I have to, what do I have to do? Do I have to do like .get on core module? Ooh, is that what I have to do? Run is not a member of Flex entity either. Why is it think? Oh, because the pipeline, oh my gosh. Okay, hang on. I'm just doing this all wrong. How do I... Oh, you call world.run pipeline and pass the pipeline and the delta in. I was just doing this wrong. Okay. So I need to do world.run pipeline, pass the pipeline in. I still need to get WinApp set up. Apparently someone got a Windows remote desktop client that extracts the window and renders it as a window on Linux. Interesting. I wonder if that's what if that's the same thing that WSL does. Have you guys ever messed with Windows Subsystem for Linux? Because you can get graphics up and running on your Windows machine using WSL, and all it really is a remote desktop client wrapped around the application window. It's kind of cool. It's kind of nice being able to do Linux development. And honestly, I could actually show you. I think I forgot to set up Docker desktop. So I don't have Docker set up right now, and I don't know how much longer everyone's going to stay around. Use that a lot is how I did Linux compatibility when working on Okay. Nice. Awesome. Yeah, I love Windows Subsystem for Linux. I think it was a game changer when it first came out, and then it was a massive game changer when they released version 2 and you could actually run Linux graphics on your Windows desktop. Okay, so everything compiled. So what do we think? First try? I think first try. Where did I install this? I installed this in installed bin on WinPog. So let's give this a try. Oh, first try. Oh. Oh no. It did it crash or close? I think it closed. It closed immediately. Oh, it was so close. It closed immediately. Windows should close. If should close is true. What does this start as? Is it default to false and maybe it just didn't get updated? Where is that? I wonder if that's what happened. Should close is default false. Oh, I never, or no, it gets set here. Can I put a breakpoint here and just see what happens? Is window ready, should close, window ready, and Windows should close. Wait. Wait, should close false means we don't want it to close. So if this is false, it will set running to true. Yeah, that's what we want. Okay. So it is not getting, or should close is getting set to true when we don't want it to. So if the window is ready, true, and Windows should close, false, because I did not close I did not hit the X button, this should be false. We could put a breakpoint there. But then I have a system that also does this. Windows should close. I also am curious if I just get into this function or not, or this system. You've been at it for about a year. Wow. Kudos for like sticking to a project. I've only outside of work, I've only had one project I've stuck with for as long as I have, and that's my Magic the Gathering mobile app that I've been making. I have a website for it and everything. It's not quite ready for mobile release, but I've been working on it off and on. I'm pretty happy with it. Let's see here. So I'm always impressed with anyone who can stick to a project because it's tough. Life catches up to you. You get distracted. You have other things to work on. Okay, I'm getting distracted. So should close. Can I set this up to debug? It's been a minute since I've used VS Code for debugging. I need to set this to my Pong project. If I hit run, will it let me debug? Heck yeah. And I think that's the problem. None of my code got... Oh, wait. Wait. It's still in debug. None of my code got hit, I think is what's happening. Or the debug didn't work. Let's see if I get in here. Why? Oh. Whoops. I'm building in release. You can't debug in release. That's a rookie mistake. All right, so let's change this to debug then. I don't like that it didn't show up. Oh, it's up here. Oops, wrong button. That's awkward. change this to debug. MSVC debug. Had to implement HTTPS support first and foremost. Then I had to reverse engineer a dead game server for Phantasy Star Portable. That's a name I haven't heard in a long time. Got that working on original hardware. Wow. Then I started on the PlayStation Network reverse engineering. I have a vast majority of the necessary stuff working. Just 3 bugs preventing you from enjoying the full online. So wait, are you basically like creating your own legacy PlayStation Network live service? Is that what I'm reading? Okay, we've got it built in debug, so now I should be able to debug my project, figure out why it's closing immediately, unless I'm blind. While running is true, so this should close as true. We'll set this to false. Let's try this again. Ooh, that's awkward. Abort has been called. Retry to debug. Ooh, I'm doing something wrong. Sorta, I'm borrowing the RPCN PS3 emulator, PlayStation Network implementation, but I have an API system you could swap it with other systems like an official. Huh, okay. Okay, that's pretty cool. I don't know much about PlayStation. That sounds cool. I grew up as a Xbox person. I went from what did I go from? What came before the Xbox? I think I had the Nintendo 64 before the Xbox first came out. I had a couple of friends that did PlayStation. I think my brother had a PSP, but I was Nintendo up until Xbox, and then I was Xbox up until I could start gaming full time on PC. So now I just stick to PC. All right, so I am doing something wrong clearly, especially if the Flex library is yelling at me. So what am I doing wrong? It's happening when import is called. It's happening when I import core module. What? It doesn't like my component phase on update. I don't even know. I even need to do that. Do I even need to do that? Let me check my other implementation here. So we define physics in a phase or a process phase. Where do we define this at? We're building it here. So I don't think I need to do anything. I don't even think I need to register. I'll just get rid of that. See what happens. PlayStation is great. Oh boy. Oh boy. Xbox rules, PlayStation drools. RPCN is a very standard matching server like most systems today. Steam has their own matching server system. Xbox has their blah blah blah. They're very lightweight servers. Implementing their own matching server. Okay. Okay. You seem much more knowledgeable about how these matching servers work than I'll probably ever be. I've done a little bit of like service discovery with microservices, but I've never done any big name gaming servers. Let's see, compiled. Let's see if this runs again. All right, second try, third try. Let's go. Debug. Still doesn't like it. Flex assert entity valid, world entity modified. This seems like a different location. Or is this the same location? Spent the majority of last year building it into the PPSSPP. I would hope I know more than most programmers. I mean, yeah, if you're spending that much time and effort putting into something, I mean that's how you become an expert in it, right? You just have more time in it than anyone else. It's nice to have people like that, because then there's people you can rely on to help you out. ECS modified ID. All right, you know what? I don't feel like debugging all this. I'm going to see if see what AI is capable of here. Hey, I'm not sure why, but when I run my application, the window is closing immediately. I'm also noticing when trying to run my application in debug, Flex is throwing an assertion. Let's see what it does. Oh no, it's going from a passion project to a nightmare. I've been there too, actually. Sometimes you're just ready to move on. Oh, that was quick. Found the root cause. Oh, so I'm not allowed to do what I was doing? What? That was quick. Found the root cause. Flex Pongming incorrectly calls. Returns an entity from the module. You can't retrieve the module struct this way in Flex. Window closes immediately. Oh, okay. So I was using the API wrong. So let's see. Okay, so I guess I just wasn't allowed to do what I was doing. This registers. I just don't know if this is what I want to happen. It doesn't matter. Let's just see if we can get this run for now. Okay. I mean, the window still closes immediately. I wonder if it crashes. Let me see. Can I copy this? Oh, your modules aren't allowed to have member variables? Is that what's happening? Oh, I thought I'd be able to define member variables and then pull them into another class. Is that actually the issue? So it's saying that I wasn't allowed to save the pipeline as a member variable. So what is its solution then? Run a system. I'm gonna have to read up on the Flex API because I thought I could do that. Let's see what this does. I'll try and debug it again. Yeah, AI might not know what it's talking about. Something else is going on. Oh, it says it sees the problem. What? The new assertion is happening during component registration when the module tries to register on update. This is likely a naming or module path conflict. Let me check. I see the problem. Module paths use a mixture of colons and periods which break Flex entity path lookup. Flex expects consistent path separators, typically colons. I'll align modules to use the same simple naming pattern as working. I don't even remember. I need to see what it changed. Interesting. Okay. Let's compile again. Run and debug. See, I'm not convinced I didn't introduce some kind of memory corruption. Cannot assign name. Name already used by an entity. Ooh. So now I think AI is. This is in graphics ECS module. Graphics ECS module. So is that getting named somewhere else? So we define a module in graphics ECS. Doesn't get named anywhere else in here. I get rid of the name. What does it do? I wonder if you have to have a name there though. Where's my main function? Nope, wrong main. All that looks good. What is going on? I need to see what changes this guy is making. Let's try this again, see what crash it produces. Okay, so we have an exception. Yep. It's yelling at us about this name. And I'm wondering if Flex automatically parses the name from the class. The assertion is now happening when graphics ECS tries to register its module with Flex. The nested colon in the module name is causing issues with Flex pathing handling. It needs to check the current graphics module and use simpler, flatter names. The issue is that nested colons in module names cause Flex path lookup failures. Perfect. Build succeeded. The assertion is fixed. All right. You've been saying the assertion is fixed for a while now. I don't trust you anymore. So let's see what it changed. It's using dots instead of colons. Okay. So this might just be knowing how to use the Flex API. That built. I'm not convinced. Okay. There we go. Now we're hitting breakpoints. Okay, that's promising. So let me run that again. Make sure. All right. Whew. Oh, that shouldn't have been that hard. What a pain. The pain of learning a new third-party dependency. Fortunately, AI helped me debug this a little quicker than what it probably would have taken me to debug. Thanks. Thanks, Urkaboo. If that's your real name. Okay, so we got a window. So step one was make the window. All right, let's close all this. I probably need to commit some changes before I continue, so I don't lose all this work. Oh, I don't have Clang format set up either. Man, my whole dev environment isn't set up yet. I guess I'll just commit to this branch. I'm doing all kinds of irreparable damage to my repo by using this branch. Working window via entity component system. Okay. So that means I can define these separate modules that pull in their own systems. So now I need to figure out how to make one system phase dependent on another, so I can always say, hey, your game logic happens, followed by your physics logic, followed by your rendering logic. And I think there's a way to do that. I just got to remember how to do it. Wherever I define the... Oh, they got rid of my pipelines. They got rid of my pipelines. What do I do? I think Flex has documentation for this. I think I'll just read that. An application can add phases to the existing list of define a pipeline from scratch. See the fall. Okay, so I just need to define custom phases. Nope, I don't want C. I want C++. So you create a physics phase that depends on update. So you call dot depends on. And then you just call world progress. This calls dot run. Create 3 dummy system. Okay, so that's system.run. Okay, so that's just running the logic. It's a collision phase, it's a physics phase. So I define a phase and then make it depend. Okay, so I need to... Okay, so in my graphics module, I need to define a phase. Dot, I already forgot. Dot add phase. Okay, so I forgot again. You create the entity and call dot add. Okay, so that's what I need. Dot entity dot add phases render. So we have a render phase. Dot depends on the update phase. I wonder if I can just do that as, yeah, like that. Okay. What do I do with this? Render phase. Okay. You know what? I think that is going to have to wait for another time because it looks like I'm going to have to spend more time digging into this. And it's getting late for me. So I think I'm going to end my stream here for now. But the next thing I want to work on is figure out how to interleave these entity component phases so that I can essentially create my engine loop, which is going to be pull for events, update the game state, update the physics, pre-render, render, post-render. Once I get all this figured out in the entity component system, then I will start to wrap all of this in nicer APIs. So from like a developer's perspective, all you really want to do is say, hey, give me an engine class, give me a window class, and I'm going to draw some rectangles. Boom, I got Pong. And then under the hood, we will use this cache coherent, cache friendly entity component system for performance and composable objects. Until next time. Yeah, everything in Flex is entities. I think internally, even component. Yes, that is what I'm learning. Silence is everything is an entity, and so I'm trying. I gotta learn and read up on the documentation some more to get this interleaved and working the way I want to use it, which shouldn't be that hard, but it's going to take some reading, and I'd like to. It's not as fun to watch someone read than to just do. So that'll be my next plan. Thank you, everyone who actually stopped by and said hi and chatted with me. I really appreciate it. This was my busiest stream ever. So I really, really appreciate you guys coming by and talking shop with me. Not a lot, we're kind of in a niche category here, so not a lot of people to hang out and talk programming. So it's kind of cool. I really appreciate it. Thank you.